Okay, I've got the liners spread out where they go. Next step is cutting out the opening where this waterfall baffle is, and this slides down over the tank, seals up against the liner, and then there's a couple of screws that holds all this in place. Once that's in place, I can start working down, tucking in, taking out the extra folds and creases in the liner as I work myself down. I've been putting the rocks here for the waterfall feature coming down to the koi pond. I have large rocks I've been putting to stair step down from the waterfall filter. I want the water to stair step down across those rocks and go into the koi pond. When you put rocks together like this, there's large gaps between the rocks, and the water is going to want to go down, hit the liner underneath. All the water that hits the liner is still going to end up going into the koi pond, but we want as much of it as possible to go across the top of the rocks. So the way we do that, we take small rocks and try to fill up as much of the gaps between the rocks as we can, and then we use black spray foam to fill the gaps. This hardens, and then all the water will stay on the surface of the rocks and flow over them. Okay, we're making progress with putting the koi pond in. We got the big liner in the pond itself. This is about a 25 by 30 foot liner. It overlaps on the edges quite a lot. Weighs about 250 pounds. I was able to get it rolled out and work it in here. The liner has big wrinkles in it, that especially in the corners, because it's kind of square on the corners. These wrinkles just fold under, tuck back in under themselves. Rocks will cover those. They won't be visible. The waterfall has a 15-foot liner underneath all the rocks that comes down. That's been seamed together with the liner for the pond here. Now I'm putting rocks up against that end wall of the koi pond to support the rocks that'll be in the stream coming down so they don't wash down into the pond. I'll continue to lay rocks across the flat bottom of the koi pond itself so that the sun hitting down, even coming through the water, the UV rays eventually will degrade the liner. By putting rocks over the flat portions of it, it'll just make the liner last a lot longer. I've been laying rocks in the bottom of the koi pond. I almost have the bottom completely covered with it. A couple of things about the rocks I've been laying. I've been trying to make sure the rocks have a smooth side. I'm putting down next to the liner. The liner is very tough, but I still want a smooth side facing down. Later on, when this has water in it, I'll be in this pond putting plants in place in pots and things like that. I'll be walking on them. So I don't want any sharp edges that could push down and cut the liner. This pond kit came with an air pump that has this diffuser disc so that you pump air into the pond. It keeps it from freezing up in the winter, helps the organic material in the pond break down better for the fish. The kit has two of these diffuser discs that get connected to an air pump, which has to stay above water. I'm going to go ahead and lay these down on the bottom of the pond where they go. And as I start putting more rocks in, I'll be putting rocks over these hoses to cover them completely. These hoses are heavy weighted where they won't float anyway, but I just want to hide them so they aren't visible. They'll extend up out of this end of the pond, and then I'll connect them to the air pump with some fittings later on. My pond kit also came with these LED lights. They're in a plastic housing molded to look like some kind of rock. There are 3 of these lights that I'm going to place so they focus on the waterfall. I have one near the top of the waterfall where the water will come out at the highest force. It'll then cascade down these series of rocks. I have another one placed on the other side of the waterfall to get that second cascade. I'll put the third one down lower so it eliminates most of the waterfall. These will be plugged into each other. The cords are about 15-20 feet long. I'll hide the cords down inside the rocks up here and then carry the last cord over to an electric eye and a transformer that's outside of the pond. I've been using the black spray foam to attach rocks to the side of the liner where it's nearly vertical. I've been picking flat rocks to put them on there. I got halfway around, and then we had about 1.5 inches of rain. So where I'm standing right now filled up with water, about a foot of water down here. Had to get a pump this out to continue putting rocks all along the edge. I have all the pond area now lined with rocks on all sides. When I put the liner down, I ended up with about 5 to 6 feet of liner extending beyond the pond excavation on the side over here where the driveway is. When I look at that and the amount of liner I have that wraps up on the other side, I'm going to use that to make the pond deeper than I had originally set out to do out here. Originally it was about 3 feet deep. I'd rather have it a little bit deeper, just give deeper water, allow the fish to get away from any predators better. So with the extra liner, I can raise it up on the sides, make this pond area deeper. On the side over on the driveway where I have the 5 to 6 feet of liner, I'm digging down, making a depression and pulling the liner up on the sides where the water level will be. That depression I'm digging out, I'll put rocks along the pond side of the depression to keep, and then I'll put dirt in place in there as a bog guard over on that side of the pond. Also, when I was putting the rocks in the bottom, I put the air diffusion disc in the bottom down here. I have the hoses for those going up through the bottom of the pond, coming up near where the filter pump will be. Those are covered over with rocks now also, so all that is not visible anymore. I've gone ahead and put the filter box down into the ground where the pumps go that will power the waterfall and the fountain pump over on the side. Because I'm going to raise the water level up a little bit higher than I originally had planned, I set this filter box unit up higher than the ground level, and I'm building up around it. I know the water level is going to be about 2 inches below the top of this intake opening. So I've used a level line to go around the outside of the pond just to make sure that my liner, when I put it down, extends at least up that high, because I don't want water to spill out of the pond into the beds on that side. I'm going to have one area that rains. I want it to go off in one particular area. So I'll use those lines just to make sure that everything is higher than this filter box. Coming into the filter box, I have my 2-inch flexible PVC pipe that's buried, goes around the outside of the pond, goes up onto the waterfall. That will power the water coming down through the waterfall. I also have the smaller 3/4 inch flexible pipe that will come up through the liner over on this boggy area side, and that will power the hand pump fountain. The pump for the waterfall is this 6,000 gallon per hour pump. I've attached this PVC pipe riser to it. I put plumber's tape around where this screws in so I don't want it leaking down at the bottom. This will fit down into the filter box and connect to the 2-inch flexible PVC pipe. The filter box has a plastic basket that will trap leaves and other junk coming out of the water. That'll need to be taken out periodically and cleaned out. The water then comes in that opening, goes through that filter box, catches the big stuff. It goes around the outside of this filter case thing inside, and there's another filter unit here that will catch smaller pieces of junk. That'll also have to be taken out periodically and cleaned out. The pump fits in a cavity in the center, so it's protected by those filters, and then it'll be connected with this flexible rubber boot to the PVC pipe that goes to the waterfall filter. When I have that connected and in place, this smaller pump will feed the hand pump fountain. It'll just fit on top of that other pump. This unit also has a UV light to kill bacteria and germs and things kind of clarify the water. All these will have electrical wires that I will feed to a power outlet about 6 feet away from this area here. To run these pipes into the filter unit, I used a hole saw mounted on a drill. There are places marked on the filter housing where the pipes are cut for that. And then once I have all these pipes in place, I will bring up dirt around this unit, hide those pipes completely under the ground. Today I'm working on the west side of the koi pond next to the driveway. What I did earlier this morning was I took large rocks and glued to the liner on the water side of this area just to bring it up higher. I've taken small rocks and kind of filled in some of the cracks in between those big rocks. Then I've put landscape fabric down over that. This is permeable to water. Just to keep the dirt, I'm going to put over here as a bog garden from washing into the koi pond. I've extended the liner up over on this side to about a foot higher than what I originally planned. It's the same level as the filter intake out there. So all this will be either underwater or the water will cover the dirt that I'm putting here. The dirt I'm digging is from an area that's going to be a trout pond, another part of the property. It's a very rich, heavy topsoil. It was actually almost a wetlands over there at one point and silted in. It'd be very good dirt for a bog garden. When I get the dirt brought up, I will then come in with a row of rocks to cover any liner remaining over here, raise up this area, probably build more of another bed over here that's more drier than the bog garden area. Back here, I have the liner that we seamed together the other day, extends out. The hand pump will fit out here, the fountain hand pump. And I have the flexible pipe that comes from the filter box pump, comes up here, will connect to that hand pump. Right now I just have it plugged off so I don't get dirt in it. But I went through the bottom of the liner, ran this pipe through there, sealed it good with rubber, and put a little bit of the spray foam just around it just to give an extra cushioning to prevent any leaks around this area. I've basically raised up the liner all on this side of the koi pond with a little berm. I'll continue to fill all this up with soil as a bog garden area over here. Once I get this side done, I'll do similar on the other side. It won't have quite as large of a bog garden going off on that side, and it'll be steeper on that part over there. Well, today was a milestone day. I finished all the construction on the koi pond. We've had to take several breaks because of snow and ice. There's been days when this has just been frozen out here, ice and snow everywhere, had to thaw out to be able to work out here. But the way it's turned out now is we built a small terrace over on this side of the pond that has this little seating area. Next to it, there's a bog area that'll be covered with water when the water level comes up in the pond. On the other side of the pond, there's another bog area that has the hand pump that'll be a fountain. So it's ready to go, just needs to fill it up with water. But the water should be about to the edge of this rock right here. It'll cover the bog areas with just a couple of inches of water. We'll plant water irises and rushes and upright plants that like really wet soil conditions. The waterfall feature over on this side has lights that are shining on it. There's a power outlet on this side of the pond to power those lights. When we get that running, we'll get those turned on. Because I ended up raising the pond sides up, had to build all these terraces that are raised up. So there's planting beds on the outside of where the pond will be. These will be terrestrial plants, things that don't really need good moisture because this is actually going to be fairly dry beds. There's little steps that come up to this terrace here. There is a walkway of crushed, packed shale outside the terraces that will allow an all-weather access out here. If it gets rainy, muddy, that should still be walkable to come up here to feed the fish. Another little terrace, planting beds, And then I'm working down into an area that's going to be some bog gardens because it gets all the runoff from part of the property plus any overflow from the pond. So that'll be a very boggy area there. This is the filter box that houses the pump. This cover just fits down on there, and we'll disguise it with something later on this summer. The koi pond is done. We'll fill it up with water. We'll get fish in here. We'll probably wait till springtime to add the fish just to give them a good start. This project is pretty much done, and it's time to move on to other projects out here.